Hi, welcome to the Neurocritical Care Society podcast. This is our Perspective series. I'm your host, Nick Morris from the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Hospital. And today on my show, a little bit of a different podcast for us. We're going to talk a little bit about the Fellow of Neurocritical Care designation. And I'm really lucky to have two wonderful Neurocritical Care Society members who are the chair-elect and past chair of the FNCS committee. Gentlemen, can you introduce yourself? Michael, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Hi, Michael Rodrigues. I am a board certified anesthesiologist and neurointensivist, and I am serving as the immediate past chair of the FNCS selection committee.
Okay, and Jason.
Thanks, Nick. I'm Jason McKee. I'm a recovering neurocritical care clinical pharmacist, currently a medical science liaison in the pharmaceutical industry and the incoming chair-elect for the FNCS committee.
Great. Well, welcome so much to the podcast. And let's just get people started right away. What is the Fellow of Neurocritical Care designation?
Sure, Nick.
Mike,
Yeah, sure, Nick. The Fellow of Neurocritical Care designation is a program offered by NCS. So as the Neurocritical Care Society matured, about 12, 13 years ago, we came up with a Fellow of Neurocritical Care Society to designate exceptional individuals for their service, academic excellence, and leadership within the field of neurocritical care. The FNCS designation just shows their devotion to the field of neurocritical care.
And Jason, besides just having a couple extra letters after your name, why should people apply for this?
Similar to fellowship in other organizations, this is a recognition within the Neurocritical Care Society and for other professionals in the field of medicine, physicians, pharmacists, nurses, to really showcase that they've dedicated their time and efforts into the field of neurocritical care and lets other members within the community be recognized for that effort.
Great. And so say someone does want to apply this year, and I think the deadline's coming up. I think we mentioned April 19th. So mark that down on your calendars. But how would they actually go about applying? What do they need to do?
So individuals interested in applying for FNCS designation, what I would recommend is go to the website, and it's very well spelled out on the website what the criteria are for applying, as far as how many years of Neurocritical Care Society membership, how many years post-training, and then a background into the 4 domains requisite for FNCS designation. That's all on the website. So definitely the website is the first place to go to get an idea. Hey, I'm thinking about FNCS application. Do I meet criteria? What do I need to do? And then after taking a look at the website, reaching out to someone with FNCS designation is always a good idea, just to get their feedback and input on, hey, do you think it's time in my career to apply for FNCS designation now? Or what do I need to do to maybe buff up my credentials so I can meet inclusion criteria?
And Michael, since you brought it up, what generally is the right time in someone's career to be applying for FNCS? I imagine it's not in the first couple of years out of fellowship, but it's also not really at the end of their career, right? It's somewhere in the middle. So when would you recommend that someone apply for this?
Correct. I think we've seen at least over the last 3 or 4 cycles that I've been involved in is people applying a little bit too early. The minimum criteria for applying include 5 years post-training experience, as well as a minimum of 60 continuous months of NCS membership at the time of application. That's just the minimum is 5 years. I liken FNCS to the Hall of Fame in that you might make an all-star game or 2, but after 5 years, you're probably not going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame unless you're hitting 350 with 45 home runs and 120 RBIs. So what we really look for is sustained excellence in the field. So unless you're outstanding in all domains. 5 years is just the bare minimum. Most applicants aren't typically ready to apply for FNCS designation until more like 7, 8 years of excellence within the field.
Got it. And Jason, we've heard that there's various domains that you all are looking at when you evaluate these applications. Can you take us through those domains and be a little bit more specific about what we're talking about here?
Sure, Nick. Yeah, the main key areas that we're looking at are excellence in program development, scholarly activities related to neurocritical care, leadership in the field of neurocritical care, and professionalism and collaboration. So to really kind of highlight and expand on some of these, program development is whether you're starting a program or starting an ICU team, or as a pharmacist, being kind of the establishing stroke practice, neurocritical care practice at your site. Scholarly activities highlight, education, research, publications, lecturing, and being an invited speaker to national conferences. Leadership, again, whether you have some leadership or director level experience within your organization. And then in terms of professionalism and collaboration, being part of that multidisciplinary team, working on a day-to-day basis with a variety of professionals and also throughout your organization on committees and committees as well within the Neurocritical Care Society.
Great. And I wanted to highlight that point that I think you all are really looking for a multidisciplinary group here. This is not just about physicians, is that right?
That's correct. Pharmacists, nurses, advanced practice nurses, physicians, bench researchers are all eligible for the designation.
Great. Well, it strikes me that within those domains, it's hard for someone to be, if we keep this analogy going, an all-star in all of them. So does someone really need to be a standout in every one of these areas, or perhaps if they're having achieved an incredible amount in one area, can that help them maybe make up for some deficiencies in other domains?
Yeah, it certainly can, Nick. And that's a good question, right? You can't be an A+ clinician, an A+ researcher, an A+ in leadership within the field. But we do look for activity in all 4 domains. One of the domain that often candidates come up a little bit short in is leadership in the field. So just because you're an outstanding doctor and well thought of in your community, that doesn't in and of itself make you FNCS material. So what we look for is something at least at a national or international level within the field, ideally of neurocritical care. So getting involved with the Neurocritical Care Society, taking on some leadership role, some committee work, some guideline work is really crucial for FNCS inclusion. So that's really one of the big pitfalls that we often see. But back to your question, yes, if you have activity in all 4 domains and you really hit it out of the park in maybe 2 of those domains, that is someone that could very well meet FNCS inclusion criteria.
Okay, and to take that to sort of the nth degree here, I think Jason, you mentioned maybe bench researchers. So some people might be interested in our field. They might be very active members of NCS, but perhaps just through their niche in our field, there's just no way for them to actually be a leader in all of these. Is there a way for someone like that to apply who doesn't necessarily have an active role in all of these domains?
So I think, getting involved within the Neurocritical Care Society and or other organizations pertinent to the applicant's field are ways to help support their candidacy for the credential.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to let you all give, your broad experience in reviewing these applications to our listeners here. What are some of the ways that people do a really good job with this? What are some things that you see that you would like to highlight so when my colleagues are putting their applications together, they have the best chance of being awarded the designation? Michael?
Yeah, sure. So it starts out with there's a personal statement, and the personal statement is essentially a way to shamelessly self-promote yourself. Like, I am Dr. Smith or Nurse Jones. I want to be FNCS. So tell the committee why you should be FNCS. So this is your time to wax august, so to speak. Tell us about your background and tell us why you feel you meet inclusion criteria. The way the committee works is there's 10 members of the committee from diverse backgrounds. Primarily boarded in anesthesia. Jason is a pharmacist. We have nurse practitioners. We have neurologists. We have the gamut of professions within the selection committee. What we do is we typically have a primary, secondary, and tertiary reviewer for each applicant, and we try to match up specialties. So Jason may review a pharmacist who applies because he's much more likely to get a feel for that candidate. Hey, what makes them excellent? What makes them worthy of FNCS designation? So that's the starting point. Looking again, once again, I'd say look at the website and review. There's really good examples of things that the committee feels are important within each of the 4 domains. So highlight your accomplishments, highlight why you feel you meet FNCS inclusion criteria, and really put a lot of thought and time into that personal statement, because sometimes we review personal statements that seem to be haphazardly put together. We feel that's a candidate that's not all that enthusiastic about it. So that's the starting point. And talking to other FNCS members is another good way at the annual meeting. Like, pull me aside, pull Jason aside, talk to us, and go over why you might feel like you meet criteria, or what could you do to further burnish your CV so you can meet criteria.
Great. Yeah, I'll just plug in my own experience. I was lucky enough to get the designation last year, and what started me off on this actually is I was applying for promotion, and it struck me that when someone mentioned, "Hey, have you thought about FNCS?" I looked at the website as you suggested, and the processes are actually quite similar, aren't they? So the domains are quite similar to what many promotion committees are looking at institutions. And I was doing all this work to get my promotion packet together, and it just seemed natural. Oh, it's not that much extra work to build onto this, but there's a temptation, I think, to recycle work. And I think you all probably can read that in applications when someone hasn't really tailored their application to the FNCS application. They're just sort of recycling it from something else. Jason, have you had that experience?
I would definitely encourage applicants to spend the extra bit of time to tailor it towards the FNCS specific application. While I do encourage my colleagues as well, look at other national organizations to apply for fellowship, typically around that same 5 to 10 year time period. Definitely, I still encourage them to focus each of the applications on the specific organization that they're applying to.
Yeah. And Jason, any other pitfalls that you've seen in previous applications that you've reviewed?
I think one of the more recent examples was just some reiteration of, say, somebody's CV, both in their personal statement and the personal statement was a prose version of their CV. And it made for some very lengthy reading by the review committee, by all members of the review committee, to kind of go through a multi-page CV and then, see a little bit more detail added, but nothing more than we couldn't garner from the CV within the personal statement.
Got it. Michael, anything to add to that? Things that you wish people would do differently to have their best chance of succeeding?
Yeah, keep it concise, highlight your strengths, and it's interesting that the committee, every year we go through it and we kind of modify the application process just a little bit to try to guide people to make a concise sort of case for yourself. And we limited the personal statement to 4 pages this year, and put in some more verbiage there so to avoid any confusion for the applicants.
Mm-hmm. Now, and part of the process, right, is to get some letters of recommendation. And I think those letters ideally should come from neurointensivists or other members of NCS who have already achieved the FNCS designation. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. We need three letters. There's three required letters, and one has to be from a colleague in a profession different from your own, and one also has to be from someone with a prior FNCS designation. So those are the requirements for the letters. And certainly, I encourage applicants to, seek out the proper people to write you a strong letter of recommendation, because we do really read those letters and take them strongly into account when weighing in on applicants.
Yeah. Michael, what would you recommend to someone who maybe doesn't personally have any strong relationship with an FNCS designee? How should they go about, if they think that they otherwise are qualified, finding someone to write a letter for them?
Sure. I think at the annual meeting, you could always talk to somebody at the NCS annual meeting. You could reach out to the committee. So on the website, you can reach out to the committee. We could get you in touch with someone if you want a mentor. Um, Candidates who are declined membership into FNCS, we give them personalized feedback like, hey, the committee felt you were somewhat light within, say, the leadership category, the leadership domain. And based on that, these are some possible ways to increase your position within the leadership field. So this committee is looking for members. Get involved in this regard. So these are ways to really communicate with the committee, communicate with leadership, and burnish your CV.
Yeah, well, that's really fantastic that you're not only giving people a response, but you're giving them some tools they need to actually be successful in future applications. All right, so let's say someone's gone ahead, they've applied, they've been successful, they're granted the designation. There's a fun little induction ceremony each year at the annual meeting. What does it mean going forward for them, though, other than, again, adding those letters at the end of their name? Any responsibilities to this? Do they have to do a certain amount of committee work, or is there a catch?
There's not necessarily a catch, aside from, maybe paying a little bit more in terms of annual dues to maintain your FNCS status. We just really encourage members to kind of continue on giving back to the organization and to the field in general. This year at the upcoming annual meeting, we're hoping to do kind of a recognition reception just to, celebrate the new inductees as well as those of us that have had the designation for a few years now.
Well, great. Michael, can you remind us of the deadline to apply?
Absolutely. The deadline to apply this year is April 19th. So you have a couple more weeks to apply. So April 19th is the application deadline. And then also all applicants so the committee gets to work right after that. And we hope to get everything wrapped up, because the week of May 27th is when applicants are notified of their decision.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty quick turnaround time, considering the, as you said, the long CVs and many letters that you all sort through. So
yeah, we have about 4 meetings, about a meeting a week during that 1 month period to get this turned around in rapid fashion.
well, as a previous applicant, I can say I really appreciate that turnaround. Well, great. Well, thanks so much, you two. We really appreciate you having on the podcast and sharing all of this information about the FNCS designation. And I certainly encourage all of our listeners to apply when they're ready, and probably to ask a current designee if they are ready, right? Maybe after reviewing their CV, and hopefully from someone who knows you well. Any last words of either encouragement or advice for those who are thinking about applying for this?
No, I think we summarized it. Yeah, look at the website, reach out to somebody. We look forward to reviewing the applications next month, and then I hope to see everybody in lovely San Diego in the fall, where you can certainly pick my brain, Jason's brain, or anybody else who is on the committee or FNCS designees.
All right. Well, we'll let that be the last word. You've been listening to the Neurocritical Care Society podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Morris. Our podcast is available anywhere you get your podcasts, including the NCS website. You continuing education is available for select episodes. Thanks so much for joining us. Tune in next time.